Hey,
Hey girl.
girl.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. I am very excited to be doing our first episode in 2026.
2026. Yes, and it's a very special one. And I was just saying right before we came on that you came up with this idea and I love it. It's so important. I think it's so like grounding. Um, it is the power of letting go and surrender.
I surrender. Like hands up. I'm
Heart
I'm giving it
open.
I'm giving it away. You know what? Like I feel like last year I was at a point where I was trying to manage and control a lot of things that were out of my control. And this year, I'm like, I surrender. Like, I'm not going to go down the beaten path and try to hold on to everything that I absolutely cannot.
Yeah. It's too much. I don't think we can carry the weight of really what the world has put on us in
Mm,
addition to our own stuff. We're just in a very interesting time. So I think this is a really poignant conversation. Um, whether it's a relationship or career or a family member or
oh,
anything political stuff. It's there's so much we have no control over.
right. I think there's a lot of, these external social things that are going on in everyone's lives that have like kind of it has society on edge
Yeah.
with a little bit of everything.
There's a Supreme Court case right now about social media addiction. I don't think they've started yet. I think it started in March. They're doing their jury selection now. A few entities have settled, but as kind of a side note, we don't really need to get into this. But I haven't been on social media since October, November, early November. I went briefly on because it was my friend's birthday, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like it over here. I forgot why I left." Because it's too much. Even if the algorithms are like set, like my algorithms are mostly like scriptures and horses, and it's still too much. It's this like force feeding of everything. And
Yes.
you just feel like, yeah. So I surrendered that.
Yeah.
I can go back whenever I want to. It's just
Right.
life is a little better outside of that for me in this moment in time.
Yeah. So usually in January, people are doing the dry January, and so I kind of take that as an advantage for me to do. I'm gonna cut out alcohol, and I'm gonna cut out sugar, which sugar for me is like, oh my god, like I love to get a good dessert, a good cookie brownie on the weekends or whatever, and so it opens up for me during that time, especially the first of the year, a lot of clarity into what I want to kind of foster in the upcoming year.
Mhm.
And it just kind of like when you're cutting out stuff and I can't go reach for a cookie. I need to, go grab some fruit or whatever. Um, it really changes your willpower, and
Yeah.
it, kind of gets you more into alignment of what you need to do that year. And so I came up with the topic of I surrender, not just like letting go of um, sugar or alcohol or whatever, but of things that don't necessarily align with who or what I want to be this year, whether
Mhm.
that's, thoughts that need to change or letting go of outcomes that I wish were different, and just trusting God and his timing.
Yeah, that's huge.
So it's really for me, I mean, you kind of know a lot of what, is going on in our lives, but I think one of the things that holding on and not surrendering has done to me, it has given me this exhaustion that I can't rest from, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. You know, you
Totally.
you wake up and then you still are trying to hold on to what's happened yesterday. And so it's just like an exhaustion of constantly trying to hold on to things that you need to let go. And so that's why I think we're not the only ones maybe in this situation. And so that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to talk about it and just kind of get your viewpoints and maybe have our audience chime in. Like, what are some things that you're wanting to surrender this year specifically that you held on to like in years past? Do you have anything?
For me, I think really my goal is like to stay present. And if you've read any like Eckhart Tolle, he talks a lot
Mhm.
about exactly what you're talking about, like being too in the future and having an expectation is exhausting and it creates anxiety. And living in the
Mhm.
past creates depression. And so really the only
Yes.
the only truth that we can have is what's right in front of us, and it's finding joy in the moment. So I'm just really trying to be present. Um and I mean, I have goals, I guess, but at the same time,
Mhm.
I sort of, yeah, I just at this stage in my life, I just want peace. I just want comfort. I just
Mhm.
I live a pretty simple, like, daily existence. I have these other things that kind of go on, and when I do, for example, if I go away and do a movie or something like that, it's like this big rush, it's this big high, it's a removal from like my daily mundane life, and I have to recalibrate, and I do it, and I feel like I've gotten a really good system, but I it can throw you off. Um so it all comes down to like a daily practice of just being present. So I'll do the same thing. I bring my scriptures with me everywhere. So if I'm in
Yes.
a hotel, I have my coffee and prayer in the morning, and like
Mhm.
that's home to me. That's grounding to me. No matter what's
Mhm.
going on in the world or in my life, that's like a
Mhm.
practice that I have. So presence, I guess, is the short answer.
Present. Yeah, yeah. I was reading something the other day and it was like, well, what's the difference between happiness and joy? And I was thinking, I'm like, aren't they the same? Like, if you're happy, you have joy, like,
Mhm.
but they were saying that happiness is based on external circumstances. So things in your life they're going right. The kids are behaving, like you have income and you have everything is kind of flowing, right? But joy is more of this internal feeling that you have that even though things aren't necessarily going right in your life, that you're still choosing to have this internal joy or that you really can't get that you can only get from um not your circumstances but just from inside, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that that was a good point because so many people are holding on to like things and all sorts of stuff trying to find happiness
Yeah.
when really what they're looking for is joy.
Yeah. I love that. And also just honoring where you're at. Like you can still have joy in moments of this is surrender, right? In moments of
Yeah.
like despair. And I think of
Yes.
like you look at Job in the Bible, right? He's so favored and he loses everything, and he doesn't not feel it. The first
Yes.
thing he does, he finds joy, but the first thing he does is mourn.
Yeah.
And we have to, I think so much in our society and our culture is like, again, these external things, whether it's scrolling or drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever your vice is like, get me to feel better. And
Right.
sometimes you just need to enjoy the rain. Sometimes you
Right.
need to sit in the storm.
And you can have joy in the rain too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
again, joy is a personal feeling that it does not come from your circumstances. So whenever I get down, I'm like, okay, I can still have joy. I can still be in the moment and appreciate this moment, even though it's not the best part of my life right now.
How will you practice that?
That's a good question. I was just right before this conversation, actually, I was on the phone with my therapist. And we were actually talking about that. And I think one of the things that we talked about was, and this may be a little bit, I don't know, I'm being vulnerable today, but I only drink alcohol on the weekends. But it got to a point where I was drinking alcohol Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was having like three margaritas Saturday, three margaritas. And I was like, hold on, that's 7, 8 margaritas in a week.
Right.
And she was like, like, since you're not doing that anymore, you're going to have to find something to replace that scenario. What do you plan on doing to replace, like, if you want to go grab a margarita, what are you doing to replace that? And I was like, that's a good idea. So I think what I plan on doing to find joy outside of external things is just to go for a walk. Like, it's nice outside today, go for a walk. Think about, maybe start a gratitude journal, like write down things that I'm excited about happening this year, or that I'm looking forward to happening.
Mm,
Um, spending more time with my family, just kind of, I don't know, living more in the here and now.
yeah, presence. I think it's so
The
important. I
presence,
remember
yeah.
on the topic of surrender, like when I got divorced, I spent a lot of time in the ocean.
Mm,
And that was like, I I just, if I had nothing to do that day and I'd take my kids to school, I would just go surfing. I'm not a very good surfer. I fall a lot, but I enjoyed it. And I think the thing, like I always taught we spent a lot of time in the ocean when my kids were little. And I always would say to my kids, I'm like, it will take you. you know, like in Taken, where he's like, they're gonna take you. The ocean, if you're in it any, for any moment of time, it will take you. And it's scary.
mhm,
And you're
mhm,
caught in this wave and you got sand all in your bits and everything. But if you allow it, it will let you out. You don't have
mm,
to fight it. Now, I know the
mhm,
ocean is not something to take lightly, but like
mhm,
really, if you're just caught in one loop, you're going to go through the loop and then you're going to get spat back out.
mhm,
And I just really learned like that probably a good year of my life. I was in court a lot and there was just a lot of things going on. And I just kept running, literally running to the ocean. And I wanted to be held. And I
mhm.
think just like, salt water is buoyant, it holds you. And and then I just really needed to surrender. I needed to not physically not have any weight on me. And
Mhm.
and it also was present. Like I had no AirPods in, I had no TV on, no podcast, no, I was just vulnerable in the ocean by
Right,
myself.
right.
It
Speaking
was
of the ocean, a lot of times when people say, like, if you are in an emergency, the first thing you have to make sure you don't do is panic,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
The ocean can be calming, it can be a sense of a peace, of relaxation for many, but if you're caught in the current and it's taking you, trying to take you under, and you start panicking and you start trying to fight against it, it's only going to pull you further
yeah,
down. And
yeah.
it's kind of like that's how surrender is. Like, if we're constantly trying to fight, against whatever's going on in our life, it's just going to pull us down more. And we have to kind of just relax and surrender and say, okay, here I am. Like, and eventually, like, sometimes we end up coming back up, for air. And so I feel like that's kind of how life is. Life is kind of like the ocean sometimes. Like, we just have to let breathe and kind of give into it and relax.
Well, yeah, and then recognize when like don't go in the ocean in the middle of a thunderstorm, and that can be, a metaphor
Right.
for like don't get
Or
into a
when the
toxic
current is high,
relationship.
like, yeah,
Yeah, like there's a riptide, and that
yeah,
again, that's like if you have tumultuous relationships and keep tapping back into them, that's maybe the question of like we don't want to get caught in abusive situations either. And so
right.
life's got enough storms, we don't have to make our own.
Yeah.
um but again, that's a lot sometimes of complacency and being like content. I think it's really interesting. I have like a diversity of kids in my house, right? And all their different personalities. And like some are just like really like busy and active and want to be a part of everything. And then I have this one and they're just really like, oh, it's nice, like just really content. And it's a really nice energy to like I also appreciate like a drive and ambition, but also there's it's nice to have all of the personality traits where I'm like, oh, you can have that and that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can
Mm-hmm.
learn from all of these things.
Right, right. Um, I feel like for women in particular, and this is another reason I want to have this conversation. For women in particular, like we are really managing a lot. And part of that management is a lot of pressure. We have a
Yeah.
lot of pressure on us to like manage, the house, the children. And if you really think about it, like if your children aren't respectable, if they're not doing, I guess, a lot of what they need to do, it to me like it usually falls back on the woman. Like,
Yeah,
well,
always.
she must have not parented this child right or properly, or what is she doing wrong for that child to end up like that? And so I think a lot of times it's just giving up on the societal pressure that women are used to getting and just kind of like letting go of that
But
as
let's
well.
ask, sorry to interrupt, but let's ask who we're getting it from.
Mm,
We're
hmm.
usually getting it from other women.
Yeah.
I don't feel that I get that energy from men. And so we have to be responsible to this used to irk me. Like we would fly with our kids and like my husband would get all this credit like, "Oh, or I'd go out of town." People be like, "Oh, you're so brave. You're staying with your kids." I'm like, "Yo, this is what I do all day long and I have a career." And but it's never men saying it. It's usually always women being so responsive to other women. And so I think we have to take the responsibility on ourselves to praise and see, I see you doing a great job, you know?
Right.
So I think it's a good I try to do that. Try to see
Yes.
that in other women.
Now that you say that, I'm like, you're right. Like, why are we so hard on each other? Like,
It's an oppressive thing. I mean, oppressed people oppress people. So
wow.
it's a learned behavior.
Hmm.
And you see it in all different forms of oppression. But yeah, I think again, just being aware of it and being like, wait a minute, I don't want that done to me. So why would I do it to somebody else?
Right, right. I think I'm not going to get this right, but there's this saying about like fixing the crown on another woman's head without like announcing that you're doing it or that her crown is even crooked.
Yeah,
Like just, helping her fix it without. And I think if we thought more like this about each other, like just helping another woman who you see is struggling, with
yeah,
something, just helping her out without having to call it out,
yeah.
I
Or
think,
even honestly, just as simple as like a compliment, noticing like, we also have this weird thing with youth and age in our culture and like just seeing a young woman and showing her love and being like, you're beautiful or and not being threatened by
mhm,
that as a more
mhm,
mature woman. As something that I try to sort of carry with me. It just
right.
feels better. It's just
Yeah,
nicer.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I am very big on if I see something that a woman has on or if their hair, whatever, I really try to compliment them on that or a man too,
Yeah. Yeah, for
because
sure.
sometimes people don't get compliments.
Yeah.
Or it
Yeah.
may be the one, if they may be having a bad day, and that's the one thing that somebody said to them that day that makes them like, that lifts their spirits, like, oh, my hair is looking nice today, or and so yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
important
I
that we
had
do
this one experience. I was at the car wash with my kids. They were little. I think Elijah was still at school, and I had the three younger ones. And I was just waiting for my car to get washed, and playing whatever I was playing with the little kids. I think Lincoln was like a few months old. Charlie was 2, and Hannah was like 4 or something. Anyway, the guy says, "Oh, your car's ready." And I went to leave. And this guy said to me, he said, "Excuse me." I turned around. I thought I forgot something. And he goes, "I just want to say I think you're a really good mother." And
Mm.
like I don't know what that man looks like. I don't remember. I just I still carry it. Lincoln's 14. That was 14 years ago.
Wow.
And it reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote, like people will forget what you
Yes,
said or they forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way that you made them feel.
exactly. And to this day, you remember what that person said to you.
I remember what I was wearing. I remember where I was. I don't remember him, but I remember feeling
Mhm.
like I got in the car and I was like, and I started crying. Like I'll cry
Yeah,
right now. I was
yeah,
like, oh, because you feel like
yeah.
you're doing everything wrong. And you know what? Maybe we get more complimented than we think. Maybe we're more praised than we think. We just only hold on to the negative things. I don't know.
Mm. Mhm,
Maybe that
mhm.
comes back to our gratitude journals. That comes back to our prayer practice. That comes back to our, being present.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is woo. Um
Yeah.
that's so how did you like how did surrendering like help you rediscover who you really are? I mean, because really, Elena, like you are an actress and in film and everything, and you have to like literally sometimes surrender who you actually are to become someone else,
Yeah. That's one of
in
my favorite
film or
things.
whatever. But how, like in real life, has surrender helped you rediscover who you really are?
I think it's sitting in the lulls. And I do remember very specifically, I've never really had tremendous career aspirations. And probably not it's probably not something I should admit, but like I've never been like, "Ooh, I want to whatever." I just always am like, if I could get like, a job and like feed my kids, I'd be happy. And that's sort of
Oh,
the way my career's always really worked out. There's, a handful of times like a great script will come and I really like it and I care and I put in the work, but I'm grateful I don't hold on to an expectation of it and what it will mean
uh-huh.
for me.
Yeah,
So this is crazy for people who don't know. So much of our job is when you go in for like an interview, an audition, and
yeah.
then you get like a call back. You're like, okay, they liked me. And then you go to what's called the screen test. Well, at that point, you've had your lawyer, your manager, your agent, and the business affairs of whatever studio or network you're. So going into that final audition what's on the line. It's millions of
Mhm,
dollars. It's 5 years of your life, and you
mm.
know what it means because you've seen it. It's courtside Laker tickets. Like it's big.
Yeah,
It's a big
right,
show,
right.
and you're like, oh, this is a big difference in my life. And I've had those experiences a few times, and very few of them have worked out for me. Surprisingly,
Mhm,
like so much has worked out for me, but some of those bigger ones haven't. And so I think I found a lot of surrender in like the job is the audition. The job is
mhm,
literally now we do it at home. I'm like,
mhm,
today I get to be an artist. Today I get to
mhm,
play. That's all I've ever wanted. I've
mhm,
been provided for. If I just look at
mm,
history, I wanted to open a business a few years ago, and it was a franchise. It was a gym. It's another story for another day. But I was going through the financing, and I was talking with the banks, and I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that I always make money. Like I can't tell you how or why, or I just always do. I always have. And I started my career when I was 14. So I just think it's
Wow.
trusting and
Trust in the process.
knowing like I can pivot. I can be like,
Yeah.
oh, things are tight. We're tightening up around here.
Uh-huh.
And that doesn't mean I'm not worthy, doesn't mean I'm not good, doesn't mean
Right.
it just means, oh, it's a lighter season.
Yeah.
I get to be at home more.
Yeah, yeah, but you know that there will be a season where it will not be light and you will be provided for, like
And then that's overwhelming too. Then that's just like
yeah,
shoom, shoom,
yeah.
shoom. And I got a publicist once. I was on a show because that's what you're supposed to do, right? I got on a show and I was like, okay, I got a publicist. And oh my Lord, that is not for me. I did not enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
I felt it was like morning shows and radio shows and
Yep.
red carpets. And I did not like it at all. I
Yeah.
really, I like pretending to be somebody else and
Mhm.
that being my outlet. Um, so I learned that about myself. That's not an avenue that's of interest to me.
Mhm.
And I think my career probably hurts because of it. But I
Yeah.
have I eat.
Right. And most of all, like you're happy, like you're not,
Yeah.
I think, and this is just me, on the outside looking in, but it almost is like sometimes it's a little bit too overwhelming when you
Yes.
get to, like, when you have to have an interview every day and you have to be on a radio station at 5 in the morning and then at night. So I think it is like you have like that happy medium, that balance where, it makes.
I don't think we're made for this is why scripture say God gets the glory. We can't handle it.
Mhm.
We're not made for
No,
supreme levels of idolization. Did you ever see the MJ Broadway show?
I have not.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
it's my favorite, just mostly because I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan.
Mhm.
But it's a great show, and this won't spoil it, but like right at intermission, it's around his like Dangerous tour, so it's the early 90s, and MTV
Mhm.
is interviewing him. That's the premise of the play. And they're like, do you not think like you bring on some of this stuff yourself? Like you're reclusive, like you don't let people into your lives. What would happen if you just went out one day? And he steps out, and like the theater just gets loud with like and Michael and screaming, and then it goes cuts to intermission. And he became a prisoner, as we all know. He became a prisoner of
Mhm.
his own fame. And
Mhm.
and I remember watching that play, and I was like, that's why God has to have the glory. Like
Yeah,
we are not meant for it.
we are
It
not.
does something to you.
It does. Wow. That kind of goes back, every time I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, you know, God, why am I here? Like, why? When am I gonna go to my next season? Like, like what's going on? And then I keep like reverting back to that scripture where it says, "I know the plans I have for you,"
Yeah.
and so I
I
have
have
to.
not seen and ears have not heard. And Corinthians, yes, yes.
Yes, and so I'm like, okay, God already knows that this was going to happen in my life and that this was going to be my path forward to doing whatever he has a plan for me to do. So, why am I trying to rush the creator, the person that put me on this earth? Why am I trying to rush his plans for me?
And again, not be in the present moment and really
Yeah.
enjoying it, right?
Yeah. Because the plan is part of the story, right? Like you don't have a story without going through the
Yeah.
things that you've gone through in life. Then what is your story? I mean,
So the other day I had an audition, and Hannah helps me with my auditions. Thankfully, I have another actor in the house, and it's worked out because we do all of our auditions at home now. And I'm in the scene, and I start crying. She goes, "You got to teach me how to do that." I was like, "I got 25 years on you, babe. Trust me. When when you've been through life, shit makes you cry." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's just it. Is like there's life experience that this is interesting because you had this on these notes, which I thought was really great. Like, or it was on one of these notes about how artists sort of have this external pressure to perform, and this
Mhm.
and I thought about it, and I was like, back in the day, an artist would put out like 2 or 3 records.
Yeah.
Now we want, like, where's Rihanna's record? Like, people are really mad that she's
Uh-huh.
not making music. She
Yeah.
cranked out a record every year for like 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
let that woman breathe.
Right. Let
It's a
her raise those
lot.
babies.
Yes.
Now she's cranking
Yes.
out babies.
Yeah, she's just,
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie did that too. I was like, oh, she's
Yeah.
hoarding children. Um, it's a season of your life. But I think we look at like creators now, and whether it's like your Instagram feed, or it's this constant treading of water. It's exhausting.
Yeah. It really
It's
is.
whether you're an artist or a stay-at-home mom, like you have
Yeah.
some sort of responsibility to show the world what you're doing. It's
Right.
bizarre, actually.
Right. Right. I was just going back to your how you said that you were doing a audition the other day and you made yourself cry. I was just talking um to my therapist. Everybody, I'm in therapy.
We
And I
love a
was
good
like,
therapy.
I do. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
same.
I said I had a really, really tough week last week, and I was just like, I just cried. Like I said, I don't know what brought it on. I don't know if it's something that I had been holding in for a while. My body was like, I have to release, I have to surrender. And she had told me a while back, she was just like, I don't care what you're going through and how long you're holding on to it and how strong you're trying to be, your body will release that pressure, that pain somehow, some way. And she was like, sometimes you just have to cry.
Yes.
Sometimes you just have to let it out. And so when I was going through this period last week where I was just kind of like really tearful and I was just like, what is wrong with me? And I was just like, I think my body is holding on to something that it needs to release, surrender. And this is just the way that it's doing it.
Yeah.
And after a
And
day
thank God
or
it's
so,
that and not, uh, you know,
yeah.
something else. I don't even want to say anything negative, but like,
No,
thank God
yeah.
it's, tears are
Right.
really actually very organic and beautiful. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, and then after I let out this really good cry and everything, I was fine. And
Yeah.
so it's funny, like when we talk about surrender, sometimes like we don't have a choice. Sometimes our body is letting us know, like, you're going to have to give it away. Like, you're going to have to, and whether that's a lot of times, they say that females or women in general have a higher autoimmune disease rate. And I think it's because we hold on to so much and we carry so much and we don't release. And so that's
Mhm.
why I think another good topic, that's why another reason I wanted to talk about this is because it's just sometimes it's a learned behavior. Like, we saw our mom be strong or our grandmother be strong and never cry or never show emotion. And so we feel like we have to hold on to that too. And we don't. Like, we
Yeah.
have to surrender. Yeah.
Yeah. That's well, and self-care is like really important. And I also think another really great opportunity of surrender is like service, getting
Mhm.
into acts of service for other people. And it doesn't have to be like, look, don't go take 8 callings at church. Like that's a little like that's,
You're right.
because we tend to, well, a lot of people will do that too. And they think it's it balance. It all comes, I'm just gonna close my blind. It all comes down to balance. But how
Right.
have you felt surrender has helped you?
Um,
Sorry. I was
oh
getting
no,
one.
you're fine. Um, Surrendering again, I just feel like it's helped me to move through uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable seasons in my life, and kind of like you said earlier, and know that I'm still going to be taken care of.
Mhm.
And there's still like this higher power that is guiding me through these seasons. And all I have to do is kind of ride the wave a little bit, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I mean, people say you're either moving into a storm or coming out of a storm or you're about to be in a storm, right? And so I think surrendering is just kind of like just kind of giving in to the moment and not being so reluctant or holding so rigorous and holding on to what you think should happen,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm. Yeah.
not
Ab
holding, yeah, not being so rigid in how you flow through life. Because, I mean, if you think about a tree, right? A tree is very rigid, but a branch or a rose or whatever is mobile, is delicate. Like we kind of have to be like that flower that's more delicate and rigid, and I mean not as rigid as a tree or something. So we have the flexibility
Yeah.
to go through life without breaking. Because if we're
Yeah.
too rigid, we're gonna break. So
I also love this saying, the bird is not concerned with the tree, stability of the tree, something like this, because its trust is not in the tree, but it's in its own wings. And
mm,
like understanding that, yeah, everything could kind of fall apart, but where's the pivot? Like
mhm,
you could dance in the rain, as we were mentioning before, or you could
mhm,
like, cry that there's no umbrella. And
mm,
yeah. So
mhm,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, like, everyone's got their own version, I guess, of surrender. And we
mhm,
find it in practices like whether it's church or yoga or watching
mhm,
TV. I mean, that's so one show I'm on, it tends to be supernatural. It tends to be like a big comfort for a lot of people. And they
mhm,
find like community in it, which is really beautiful. And I think there's like a
mhm,
little bit of an escapism there. Um, so I think it's really important to be in community as well. And that can be a form of
mhm.
surrender. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know, since COVID, we like really isolated. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
I have to dress up and go out. And, you know, maybe it's gotten a little bit better. But I do think, I think maybe in one way it was kind of a nice reset. And in another way, it's sort of isolated us.
right, right. I mean, everything I've received, I've has came from me not forcing it,
Mm,
from me stepping into whatever season or whatever situation I'm in, and just kind of, there's this big term in that people use in yoga and meditation or whatever, and it's called equanimity.
mm,
And it's just kind of equanimity. It's just not forcing anything, letting it flow towards you. If things are good, that's great. If things are bad, then you're still kind of on that level trajectory. And so I think having kind of that equanimity, or kind of learning to have that, has helped me surrender as well. Because you're
yeah.
not too high, you're not too low. You're kind of like in a even playing field sometimes. Not that it's bad to get high or low, but when the lows come, they're not so low that you can't handle them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you don't have to live there. You don't have to identify with it. It doesn't define
Yeah,
you. It's
exactly.
I think that that's a big I remember when my kids were little, they ask all the questions like, was that good or is that bad? I'm like, it kind of just is. Like
Mhm.
things are what they are. And that doesn't
Mm,
necessarily mean
mhm.
it's good or bad. It just kind of
Yeah,
is.
yeah, and
Um,
that's what equanimity is.
I like
Yes.
equanimity. Okay. My new word.
Uh-huh.
Know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
What about
I learned it
identity?
years
You
ago,
learned it
and
today?
I'm just
Oh,
like,
years ago?
yeah, and I'm just like, that's what it means to kind of like be at peace with yourself, is just not having to deal with all of these emotions coming at you at once, and then you're trying to manage every last one of them instead of
Yeah.
just kind of riding the wave.
But also, I think again, like we were saying, like don't run into a stormy sea. Like, the Bible says protect your heart because everything you do comes from it. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we don't want to be hardened by the world and we also don't want to be like influenced in so many ways. I think it's really important that that's a great baseline, right? Equanimity is just
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
protecting your peace, protecting your space.
Yeah. Yeah. And surrender isn't the end of our story. Like it could be the
No.
beginning of our story. It could be the moment where we stop forcing and we start letting things like more flow to us versus forcing it. So, and it's just about releasing whatever our expectations are or were, and trusting that we can surrender and give it away and still have an abundance
Yeah.
of things come our way, even if we're surrendering to
Do
what we
you
thought.
feel do you feel that like identity has anything to do with it? Like, inevitably as mothers, we sort of we go through so many phases, and I'm like nearing the empty nest stage, and it's a big
Ah,
transition, right? And
yes.
there's a I'll always be a mom, but I'm a mom in a different phase, and I'm really looking forward to being a
Mhm.
grandmother. Um,
Mm,
and so that's like a different identity. And if I
mhm,
had this one vision of myself at like 22 when I started my family, I wouldn't grow.
mhm.
So
Right.
so I think sometimes we have this identity, if it's like I'm an actor and that's the only thing I do, it defines me.
Yes. Yes.
I'm missing out on so many different things in my life. Like, I'm also
Right.
a friend, I'm also a gym rat, I love riding horses. There's so many different identities that I have that are not
Mhm.
dependent on the one thing people know me as.
Right. They always say if you've been in a long-term relationship with, your partner or your spouse or whatever, over the years you're going to meet so many different versions of that
Mm,
person um throughout the time, and if you don't, then that means that person is not growing, that person is not changing. And
yeah.
so I think it goes with ourselves as well. Somehow you're not on the screen anymore. I don't know what happened, but I think it
Can
goes
you hear
with
me? Okay, there we go.
there we go, with ourselves as well. Like we're constantly evolving, or we should be. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're outgrowing that old version, that we were 10 years ago. And I think some people that we were friends with or associates with, they don't always know how to
Yeah.
meet meet the new person that we've become.
Yeah.
And so I think it also goes with like friendships and relationships. Like we have to be able to surrender to that new person, or that the person that they're evolving into, or that we're evolving into. We have to surrender into that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Equanimity.
equanimity. Ah, love it.
Hello.
Well, do you have any
Hi.
closing remarks? I love this discussion. And again, we
I do
want your
too.
feedback on
Yeah.
what you're surrendering, or what you've had to surrender to become who you are today.
Yes.
It's something. I don't know what it is, but it's
Well,
something.
it's shared stories, right? I think it's really important for us to like share our stories. I mean, as a storyteller too, I feel like that's why we resonate, is because you're like, oh, that's how I felt. So yeah, I
Mhm,
encourage
mhm.
everyone to share their surrender story.
Yes.
Surrender pain.
Yes. Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we are wrapping up our first episode of Hey Girl. And listen, we
This
are
is
not going to be gone as long next time. I don't know
oh
what
yeah.
got
We
like
surrendered to the
right.
holidays.
The holidays, work, like travel,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, we got to, plan another time soon to
Yes.
get
Get back
together
to
and have a discussion. And I'm hoping next time we'll have a great guest. We did plan for some guests to kind of be on our show last season. Last season,
yeah,
I'm
girl.
cracking myself up. One of your friends, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So
we'll
Stephanie.
organize that.
Okay.
Yeah. We
So
got a
yeah,
few
let's
lined
get
up.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we'll get
So thank you for joining. Hey girl, we
that.
love to hear your feedback, and see you next
I think that.
time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.